All right. Hello and hello. Good evening, and thank you for joining. So as usual, I always cut straight to the point. I don't like to beat around the bush too much, but I do like to give you a little bit of background. Okay, today in church this morning, Pastor Derek brought something to light that I'd like to expand off. It comes from Ephesians chapter 1, verse 18 through 22. And I want you to hear me as I read these verses. I pray also that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in the saints, and his incomparable great power for us who believe. That power is like the working of his mighty strength, which he exerted in Christ when he raised him from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly realms. Listen to verse 21. Far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every title that can be given, not only in the present age, but also in the one to come. And God placed all these things under his feet and appointed him to be head over everything for the church. I read those verses, and here's a couple key takeaways. Number one, Christ is the highest authority. Jesus Christ is the highest authority. As a matter of fact, it says that God placed all things under his feet and appointed him to be head over everything for the church. We see this reflected later on in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22, where it says, "Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, for which he is the Savior." As the husband is the head of the wife, so Christ is the head of the church, and we see that reflected in Ephesians 1. We also see that Jesus possesses all authority. Jesus said in Matthew 28:18, before he gives the Great Commission, he says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given unto me." I want you to think about that for a minute. He has all authority. That means there is nothing outside of his control. He's in control of it all. Everything is precisely where it should be. Oftentimes, when we're in the middle of trying times, we tend to forget. We have amnesia, and I've been harping on this like a long time, but I'll bet you the reason why is because, this is something I'm going through, and this is something that I wanted to share and really help you guys understand that, look, when there are hard times, we tend to forget how good God has been to us. We do. We tend to forget that. We tend to forget how good God was. I want to share with you something from the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 8. And if you're wondering, okay, what is this Deuteronomy? Deuteronomy is basically the Old Testament. It is a part of the Torah. And Deuteronomy 8, this is basically Moses is writing this book. And this is what he says. Deuteronomy 8, verse 2 and following. "Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the desert these 40 years to humble you and to test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands." Verse 3, "He humbled you, causing you to hunger, and then feeding you with manna, which neither you nor your fathers had known, to teach you that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." And I wanted to share that because sometimes in the midst of hard times, God will allow you to hit a breaking point. And the reason why is because he's trying to get you to look at him. He's trying to get your attention. Derek mentioned this, and let me tell you something. What Derek said happened to me. There was at one point where I was deeply depressed. And I thought, God, are you trying to kill me? I thought about suicide. I'll be honest. I was thinking about suicide when I was in high school. No one knew, because I never said it till now. I thought about it. But what kept my feet on the ground was Jesus. He's the one that kept me here. And maybe you're in the midst of that. Maybe you're miserable or depressed. And let me tell you something. Suicide is not the way to go. Trust me. I've battled with that. And there will be times, not often, but every now and then, the thought crosses my mind, and I have to, and that's not right. God gave you life, and you're going to insult him by taking your own? The reason why you're in hard times is because God is teaching you to look to him only. No amount of video games, no amount of alcohol, no amount of drugs, no amount of sex before marriage, no amount of that, no amount of movies that you watch will give you the satisfaction that you're looking for. Let me tell you something. Your satisfaction cannot be found in anything. Not even in that, guys, you looking for that perfect girl? She's not going to give you what you're looking for. I hate to break it to you, but she's not going to give you what you're looking for. You're going to be disappointed. God will be the one to do that. And I think you need to understand that looking to God is the only option. Especially now. It's okay to prepare, but at the end of the day, your life belongs in God's hands. And he will decide what you should do. Okay? God is not taken by surprise by all these disasters. I'm not going to lie. The political landscape has me concerned because now it looks like our freedoms are going to be taken away. But at the end of the day, guess what? I look to the throne. I look to Jesus. Is that where you look? Is it easy? No, of course not. Let me tell you something. I can't tell you how many times I've taken my eyes off Jesus and put my eyes on the situation. Do you guys remember a prophet by the name of Habakkuk? Habakkuk was witnessing injustice throughout Jerusalem and throughout Israel. And guess what happened? He complained. He said, God, why am I seeing so much injustice? Will you not act? And then God responds to him by saying, look to the nations. I'm about to do something you would not believe even if you were told. And he goes on to say that he's going to raise up Babylon as the instrument of justice to bring on his people for all the injustice they're committing. But then Habakkuk complains to God and says, hey, Babylon is just as guilty. They're the one. They worship idols. They don't love you. They could care less about what's right. Why do you use them? And then God's like, listen, they'll get their justice. They'll get their justice. They'll get theirs, but not yet. For now, they're going to be used as tools. And then Habakkuk responds in chapter 3 by saying, okay, God, you're in control. He magnifies God. He praises the Lord. He's like, even though there's no seed in the ground, even though there's no cattle in the stall, no sheep in the pen, I will put my trust in God. In other words, God, things are looking bad, and they're probably going to get bad, and maybe worse, but I still look to you. And that's going to be the ultimate test of maturity for a believer. Do you really trust God? And it's going to be a test for me too. I'm not leaving myself out of it. Trust me, I'm still dealing with a lot of stuff in my life. But I will say this. Do you truly trust in God? Do you truly look to him? God can do anything. God is in control of everything. He's omnipotent, all-powerful. There is something to be said about weakness on our part. A lot of us don't want to talk about how weak we are. We want to talk about how strong we are because that's how the world looks at it. The world says, oh, we must exalt human efforts because humans are great. Wrong. Humans are not great. Humans are sinful. We're bad people. We're very bad. We've committed sin in the eyes of God. Why do you think we're in this pandemic in the first place? It's because of us. It's our fault that we're in this mess. Because if you go back to Adam and Eve, if Eve doesn't eat of the fruit, there's no coronavirus. But because she did, and then Adam did, there's a curse in this world. It's our fallen nature. That is why there's disease. That is why the coronavirus exists. That's why bad things happen. Because of our original sin. Going back to Adam and Eve. And guess what? We've continued that sinful legacy to this day. But there is good news. And that's why Jesus came. He knew that we could not keep this whole thing all by ourselves. He knew we could not do it perfectly. So, that being said, what will you do with Jesus? Because Jesus even now is being offered. And here's my question. Do you want to receive Jesus tonight? You can right now. It's not hard. All you need to do is admit you're a sinner, believe he died for you, and then commit. Commit to living for him all the days of your life. This is not a decision you should make lightly. Because when you make this decision to follow Jesus, you are committing to living a different life. You are leaving behind the old you and you are going for a new life. That's what you're committing to. A new life, not founded in your efforts, but founded in Jesus Christ and the work he did for you on the cross. That's what you're committing to. So if you're ready to pray to receive Christ, you can do so right now. Just say this. Say, Lord, I know I'm a sinner. I believe Jesus died for me. Come into my life. Forgive me of all my sins, all the bad things I've ever done or ever will do. Give me the power to live a Christian life. And so now I commit that to the best of my abilities, I will follow you all the days of my life until eternity. And if you prayed that, I want to say welcome to the family. And now the next step, find other believers who will share the walk and struggle with you. Find other people you can do life with. I found a great church family here at my home church Radius. So look for your church. Look for the body of believers, whether they meet in a church building or they meet in a house. That is where you need to get plugged into. I hope you all have a great day, and God bless.